Guys, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We're going to get started. So, Joe, thank you so much for being on the call. It means a lot to our agents. During these times at home. It's nice to actually talk to some of our friends in our industry from around the country. So, Joe's from Tampa, Florida, and there's a reason why we're reaching out to our friends from around the country, just to really kind of see past, present, and future. So, we're going to get right into it, Joe. So, tell us real quick. Some of our agents actually know you because you stepped into our office a couple of years ago. But just tell us, what got you into the business. I know it's you and your wife who started this team years back, but tell us what got you into the business when you first got in.
So I guess to kind of go through it quick, just to be respectful of time. I got into the mortgage industry probably about 2004. Ended up having a mortgage company. Long story short, the mortgage company went belly up in 2008. 2006, I decided to get my real estate license. At that time to kind of double dip, just because, obviously transactions were a lot easier. Then obviously with the crash, I ended up running an all-state agency from, let's say, 2008 to 2009, just trying to make ends meet. We have 4 young kids. My wife ended up getting licensed around 2010, 2011. When I got my real estate license in 2006, I was just doing a couple deals here and there just to make some extra money. Really got serious about it in 2010 when she got licensed, and just a lot of the prospecting and campaigns that I kind of learned over the mortgage company and insurance, whatever it might be, I kind of brought to the real estate. And that's kind of how we got our start and what got me into real estate. Got
it. So now, what was your biggest challenges you faced during this, through this? So you got in the business, you said in 2006, you said?
Well, I got licensed in 6. I'd say I wouldn't really get into the business until about 10 or 11, like towards the end of 2010.
So what has been your biggest challenge from 2010 to now? What has been your biggest challenge?
I guess the biggest challenge that I've faced over the years is, sometimes when you have to pivot quick, you're dealing with uncertainty such as we are now, and you just kind of got to adapt with the times. I think, when I first got into real estate, right, you're always looking to kind of get over the summit and thinking, all right, I'm finally going to get there. But one thing I learned in real estate is there's always going to be something that comes your way that's unexpected, and you just got to pivot, adapt, and kind of adjust with the times.
Yep. And so now you run a team, and you've been a high-ranking team for some time. You were actually in some private, big branded groups over the years. You're in the top 50, top 100. What was that again? Who's top 50 in the nation? Private groups.
Yeah. Top for teams. I think we're top 100 in the nation, and I know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now, but before we got to those levels, because we have some agents here that are not even thinking about a team yet. Tell us what it was like when you prospecting, working a lot of buyers, working a lot of sellers. What was your beginning stages before you scaled the team? What we do most.
I would say when first starting off, besides slowly building systems and stuff around the business. I mean, when we didn't have anything and we didn't have liquidity to really invest in marketing, 80% of our workday was prospecting. Whether it was FSBOs, expireds, going after our spear clientele, and then just kind of nurturing those relationships and building onto it. As we got busier and resources kind of came in from our production, then we looked to do other things, from a marketing perspective, or started to build out systems because we had a higher influx of business. But starting out was just pretty much every day waking up and just trying to find business whatever way we can, which was pretty much just making phone calls.
So that's what you did. So primarily you're making phone calls. So you walk me through your day. What was that like? And this is before even, before Zillow became really, or any of the portals became so big. What were those phone calls like? I mean, what portion of your day was phone calls?
I would say
what percentage?
Definitely, I'd say 60% at least. I would say there's, a dedicated 3 hours every morning, and throughout the afternoon and evening, I was, on the phone anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, depending on who I was trying to reach out to, what businesses I was trying to go after. Like back in when I started making calls, I was calling a lot of law firms, try to align with them for short sale opportunities. Also different law firms who practice family law, to see what I can do to kind of help facilitate the needs of their clients if they have to sell during divorce. And just started to position myself as an expert in certain things, like almost go after a niche market, which I think allowed me to harvest and take advantage of these opportunities rather than just kind of going after everything. So, the beginning of the morning was more going after clients. That was more buyers and sellers. In the afternoon and the evening, it was more trying to, nurture my past clients and also trying to create business opportunities. I would call businesses, mail them, anybody I felt that might have a need for a real estate agent, such as, law firms at that time, and depending what field they were practicing law.
So it's interesting. So you basically went after the businesses before you went after the people. So when I guess that would be almost like circle prospecting, but you were prospecting more businesses, going after the larger number of clients, going after one source. So you align yourself, and of course, naturally, guys just want to be compliant here. There's got to be a compliant relationship between those businesses. So you call them and say, hey, do you need real estate agents to help you with your business? So that's a great idea. Call them the lawyers and what other business you said? You called lawyers, and who else did you call?
Yeah, I mean, so like obviously, I knew Relo. A lot of people, all these large companies had, relocation divisions that would help facilitate the needs of their employees. I also realized, obviously, that your small and medium businesses didn't have these departments, especially your independents. So I was also trying to align with just businesses locally, just getting my name out there, but also saying, hey, how can I be a service? It was always, when I was making the call, how can I bring value to their organization, right? I want to be here in case you have an employee that moves or something happens. Just kind of be that resource and that go-to. And if you ever need me, I'm always available. And then just kind of always, bringing value to them is what got my phone to ring quicker and then allowed me to start taking advantage of these opportunities.
And what about community involvement? Did you do anything with the community, any types of events or anything like that?
Yeah, we did. We do community. We'll do like, I guess, 1 or 2 big client appreciation events a year. We'll also get involved in a lot of things, whether it's, renting a booth, just to kind of get belly to belly kind of with the clientele and just meet everybody in our market. I love to get that face time for the interaction. So anything I could do to kind of get out there. One thing that we also did, I don't know, how it is in New York. I know obviously dealing with a lot more condos and things of that nature. But like we have master plan communities and there's a lot of them. So one thing we also used to do and still do occasionally is at the clubhouse of these master plan communities, we would host a party for all the residences who lived in the community. That was also a community that we were farming in. And we would just rent the clubhouse and, just kind of have like an ice cream truck for the kids outside. They'd wait outside. And then we had a couple iPads set up for the agents and answer any questions, or people always wondering what their home value's worth or what's going on in the real estate market. That allowed us to really get some traction with the farming and get more people into our database at an accelerated rate rather than just only making phone calls and door knocking.
That's interesting, guys. Renting out an ice cream truck. And then, the ice cream, I know my son runs the ice cream truck. So it'll be interesting to, hey, ice cream's on us today. It's actually pretty clever, going in front of there's some agents here who deal with what they call co-ops. For the building of 160 units. That's an interesting thing, 160 units and each ice cream is $2 a pop.
Yeah.
And tell everybody we're giving free ice cream today. That was a big aha moment just for me just now, Joe. I might want to do that. I'll go to serve ice cream. No, but it's very interesting, thinking outside the box. But it's community involvement. And I like what you said. You weren't just circle prospecting, calling one by one. You were looking for mass scale, like, hey, I'm going to go to these communities that we're farming in. And I would love to touch on that for a second, that we're farming in, and we'll just post up a party that we're going to have, or we're giving out free ice cream today. I thought that was good. So bringing it back to New York, though, because I know agents, I know when I go sit on panels and listen to people, sometimes it's like, okay, that doesn't happen in New York City. I think it's a great idea. You get a guy with an ice cream truck or a girl and just have them come and say, we'll pay $2 a pop up to 100 people, post something online where it's using social media and saying, for example, in Bay Ridge, 9801 Shore Road, old 9801 Shore Road residents, come out for a free ice cream cone today on Mike Napolitano.
Mhm.
and just have, that's kind of what you have, and the agent standing in front with an iPad just registering people? Is that
Yeah,
kind
we'd
of?
have it there, with the stand set up kind of in the clubhouse. But my primary objective of anything that I did, from a marketing standpoint or trying to build a business, was always get face to face. I want as much face to face interaction as I possibly could, and just work on, nurturing, harvesting some relationships. I knew that obviously some people were gonna be more influenced for my business and send me, more transactions. So I was just kind of getting out in front of as many people as I can, then nurturing the ones that were willing to kind of work with me and just expanding on those relationships.
Interesting, interesting. So can you share something of the farming techniques? So are you a big mailer? What were you doing with farming? So you mentioned
Yeah,
farming.
so we mail a newsletter to communities bi-monthly, and then for just listed and just sold postcards, we only do it in the communities we farm. In our market, what I found is what I was just dropping the just listed, just sold in a community that I wasn't consistent in. It ended up becoming a waste of money when I was tracking it for me in Florida. Every market's going to be different, but when I would keep farming or dropping the just listed and just sold to that same community, there's 18 that we farm right now. That was getting the newsletter. It allowed me to get a lot of traction, and we're, the #1 team in all 18 of those communities because we've been doing it sort of 11, so 9 years now.
Interesting. So, and so you said you sent a newsletter to these folks. So is it once a month, twice a month?
Every other month. So there's 6 that go out a year.
Wow, wow. And that's really been effective, huh? So you
Yeah.
only do 6 a year to the communities, and what would you say the sample size at this point of the farm area? Just talking number of potential. So you're sending mailing to 500, it's 1,000 units. What
I
do you
mean,
know?
obviously we scaled it. It didn't just start out. We started with one
Of course.
community we wanted and then got it. But right now, last time I checked, because obviously the numbers change every drop. I think it's just a little bit over 11,000.
My goodness, I almost fell on the floor. So let's roll it back. Let's for some people hearing it, so how did it start though? So for agents that hear 11,000,
I mean, it started with a little enclave of a community, about 150 people.
150 people, guys.
Mhm.
150 people. And did you always do 6 mail outs a year? Is that what you did?
No. So we obviously scaled up to that. At first, I was doing more of kind of targeting. Right back then, obviously the market wasn't as healthy as it is now. So there's a lot of short sales and things of that nature. So a lot of the stuff we were sending out, the literature was more geared to that, because in the area we were in was just outside of Tampa. So we were really impacted by the collapse over there in 08. And I think we're one of the top 5 hardest hit markets. And with all being new construction based on speculative buying, our prices ended up coming down about 40% of what they were selling for in 06. And, we bottomed out 2010, 2011 until those hedge funds came up. So I was just, instead of just kind of doing just listed, just sold, obviously we didn't have that many homes we were listing and we didn't have that many sales. It was just sitting out targeted information on, hey, how can we be of service to possibly help somebody who might have a need? So, and a lot of that was geared towards around short sales and trying to help out somebody who might be in financial distress.
Wow. So the silver lining out of this though is you still made it though, right? 40% drop in price, and you guys still emerged even during that time. You still had a career with even a 40% drop in price in your market. Because sometimes the naysayers, Joe, say, well, Joe's from Florida and Matt's from Missouri, and this doesn't work in our market. Guys, 40% drop in price, and you still emerged, and you still were able to feed your 4 kids through this process, and you got through it all. So I love the approach, and thank you for sharing all that. And now you're at the 11,000. You're at 11,000 mail outs. So all right, so what has been your biggest success though? We talked about some of the challenges. So what has been your biggest success to date? So let me take that back for a second. So when did you start then the team, right? So it was individual, it was you and your wife. So essentially one of you guys is the administrative assistant to some degree, right? So when we talk scaling a team, many agents immediately want to go hire other agents, but essentially a husband and wife team, there's at least one admin on the team, and we don't need to necessarily know who that is today. It doesn't matter. But that's essentially one of you guys are the admin of the team. But now what's next now? When did you decide that, I need another agent on this? Like, when did you start ramping up a little bit?
So we brought our first agent on the team 2015. So you figure it was just the two of us for about 4.5 years while we were building it. When we did it, I don't know if I would necessarily go this route again, but I wanted to go kind of agent heavy, and we didn't have a big admin team, so I was more focused on the sales and agents kind of doing more of the transaction and taking a lot off their plate. And I think we scaled from just the two of us. We brought our first agent on in 2015, and then we were up to 7 agents, I think, in 2016, and that's still kind of our core stable today.
Very nice. Okay. And so I'm going to just shift gears for a second, because we talked about your lead generation activities before, but how important, though, is education and things like that? So just can we share, what are the things? So right now, a lot of people are staying at home. How did you guys do it? Like, what are ways in which you scaled your business, right? So, people always look to, what should I watch? What should I do? How important is that to your business now, before and now?
I think it's vital all the time to kind of go on the education. I think education's probably one of the most important things for a real estate professional that unfortunately I don't think a lot of agents really invest their time and resources in. I think when, in talking and seeing top producers around the country, one common theme is they're usually attending a lot of events, always trying to stay up on what's going on with the market. That way they can properly advise their client. So the number one, I look at ourselves as real estate professionals, we're expert in our field, which means we need to know what's going on so we can convey that message to the clientele. And what I do now, or with anything, is just, hey, I need to figure out a way, how can I get my messaging out to the marketplace? So what we're doing right now is obviously pivoting to a lot of virtual, right? Virtual tours, virtual Zoom meetings similar to this, where we're doing virtual listing consultations, going over our presentations virtually, and just kind of changing the way that we interact, but still with the same fundamental process of selling real estate, but just obviously adapting with the times, with what's going on with the COVID.
Excellent. Anything that you want to share with the agents? What was one or two things that would help you with, getting educated and staying in front? What are your sources? Is it books? Is it social media? What's some of the things that help you stay in the front lines?
Me, usually I kind of get it from staying, following people online, or, subscribing to YouTube channels of certain influencers where I think puts out good content, and trying to get into Facebook pages. I also find that I tend to get the most value with somebody who's kind of in the trenches with me. So almost like bouncing ideas off somebody who's trying to accomplish what I'm accomplishing with, but also going through the pitfalls. Because a lot of times when you get with a coach or something, they're going to tell you, there's 10 steps, but what they, don't really break down as well. There's like 10 steps from step 1 to step 2. There's like 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. And nobody's kind of really going through, the trials and tribulations, except for people trying to do what you're doing and adjusting to it. So I find, I guess, the most inspiration and most insight for helping me is just talking to like-minded people, trying to get in those groups who have the same visions and goals that I share, and bouncing ideas off each other, but then also paying attention to people who've done it before, so that way I can see, some of these tactics and techniques that they're using, and how can I bring that to my business and help us succeed and try to build an organization such as they have. So it's, just getting into, the groups, whatever it might be, a Facebook group, following people. Everybody today seems to have a YouTube channel or a Facebook page if they're trying to coach or help agents. So it's just subscribing to them, and then obviously unsubscribing to the ones that you really don't find value in, and then just getting traction and momentum with the ones you do, and just kind of a resource for somebody to kind of help you and see where you can get that information to help grow your business.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the floor for some questions to continue to make sure that they're here getting as much, and thank you again for your time. I want to make sure that we're mindful of your time. So we'll open up the floor for some questions from the agents, just to see what they want to hear from you, because there's so much you have to offer. So while they're doing that, I know Russ has something coming up, but while they're doing that, Joe, guys, what's interesting about mine and Joe's relationships over the years, what Joe was saying is that, we met through other educational, coaching and connections and masterminding. And Joe's another person that I reach out to be able to bounce ideas off of each other. So that's been a big resource for me. Giving Joe a call saying, hey, Joe, here's where I'm at. Where are you at with this? So that's kind of, it's tried and true. And Joe, we had Matt Delhoun on this call yesterday. So
that's a great guy.
Yeah. So it's, again, these are people that I reach out to, and I urge you guys to continue to using, the Remax network and beyond. So it's not just Remax. I mean, Remax is a great network, but there's a lot of other people you can reach out to that are in different marketplaces that really, really, truly has helped my business. And I'm sure Joe can say the same. When you're calling other folks from other places, sometimes when you feel like you're going crazy, you're able to call someone up and say, hey, Joe, am I going crazy? Is this what we should be doing right now? Right? So, all right, let's see who's got some questions over here. So we got, let's just check. So, hey, Joe, describe your business for the next 2 or 3 months. How do you see it going as we keep saying the new norm? So this is from Russ from the expansion team. So everyone talks about the new norm. Where do you see your business in 2 to 3 months, in this case? And
I mean, honestly, there's a lot of uncertainty and unknown. So, I want transparency. I don't know. I take it day by day. And every day I kind of wake up and see, if I need to pivot, if I need to adjust, because we're in uncharted waters. We've never really dealt with anything like this. So I don't know when everything's going to open or when we'll go back to business. So what we're doing now is obviously doing a lot of things virtually, as long as we have to, but also what I'm doing in my business the next 2 or 3 months primarily is a lot of projects and things that I always put on the back burner because I was busy in production. I'm kind of, fixing those systems, tightening up the marketing. We cut out a lot of expenses because I did a deeper dive into the P&L, so got rid of a lot of waste that we had, and just kind of focusing on, just tighten up everything logistically while also reaching out to our clientele, our past and obviously our future prospects. The main thing with prospecting, the one thing that we pivot and shift for the next 2 or 3 months is we've tried to soften, I guess, the language or the messaging of, hey, you might have a house to buy or sell, and that's usually, some script or dialogue that kind of goes into that. We're trying to work more with human connections. Obviously, people are suffering a lot right now, whether it might be health or financially, getting hit with the economy. So we're just trying to be that resource. How can we help you? And what you find out is a lot of people who are in need usually will end up being, something with the house, especially as people lose businesses or they get laid off, but not kind of leading with that messaging, right? We're trying to see if we can create a need and be that real estate professional to help facilitate something that they need done due to what's going on. But just trying to work more on human connection over the next 2 or 3 months, be there for them. Because right now, from what I've noticed in my conversations, not only that I have with clientele, but also the agents, is there's a lot of worry and uncertainty. So it's just kind of, how can we put them at ease and say, hey, we have solutions for you. Might not be ideal, but we just want to be that go-to resource for you if you find yourself in a bind, and we're here to help any way that we can.
So I'm going to break that down for a second, Joe, and Russ, if you want to chime in, feel free. If not, I'm going to move on to the next question after I break it down. So first, Joe mentioned P&L, right? So if I heard the steps correctly here, he went to P&L. So basically,
that's the first thing we did.
Yeah. So if you're an agent here, whether you're small, big, small, medium, large, you got to think about, okay, well, how am I driving my business? What things I could do to kind of cut some things out and also expand, right? So Joe, all right, isn't that true? So once you cut some things out, you can't just cut the oxygen off your business. You have to find places to expand. Business is always driven by, cash and cash flow. So you can't just knock out the oxygen completely. You have to have some, cut, but also cut the right places and move and invest into places that make more sense. Is that right, Joe? What you see?
Yeah, absolutely. And in this time too, you got to think everybody, most of your competition is going to pump the brakes and stop all the marketing efforts. So if you can double down in certain areas for communities or co-ops you're trying to get market share in, then I think you'll gain a lot more traction now. Just obviously make sure the messaging kind of goes with what's going on in the marketplace.
Yeah, and then next was logistics. You know, I know Joe's running a team. Anything we can give is a learning experience with any of our, you know, agents or individuals or large scale. So what do you mean by logistics? Does that mean your systems? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, just, you know, tightening up drip campaigns, figuring out how we can stay in touch with them. Obviously, changing a lot of the messaging in the drip campaigns to be relevant of what's going on in the marketplace now, because when, you know, those campaigns were built out, we never thought we'd be experiencing this, so we didn't have any kind of messaging for that. And just trying to figure out ways to be innovative. So one thing, you know, we always wanted to do, I believe, you know, sending videos, bomb, things of that nature, was always something we wanted to do. But, you know, with the market being really good and you having higher production, it's easier to become lax and not do what you're supposed to be doing. But now, if you want to survive and, you know, pick up market share, you have to do what you're supposed to be doing. So it's like, all right, integrating the video with these email drips, sending that video, having that kind of, you know, human connection where they're seeing your face rather than it just being a phone call. And we've definitely seen a spike in increase when doing things like that. So logistically, it's just little things like that, doing the things we should have been doing before that we just weren't, to be honest.
So has drip campaigns been successful for your business?
Yeah.
When you say drip, yeah. So now it sounds like you're adjusting the messaging, and now you're incorporating video into that to rehumanize. Is that what it sounds like? Yeah.
Absolutely. And in the drip campaigns, there's a video, whatever that email's about. There's just like a short video. It doesn't take long. It's literally you just reading what you're sending in an email. But we've noticed that we're getting a much higher engagement rate by having us do a voice and them seeing our face to the message that we're emailing out. So just changing it where it's just text to text and video.
Beautiful, beautiful. And anything else logistically, you know, when you said adjustments and you said double down on marketing, any types of marketing that you would suggest? So you said double down what, in like communities, or what did you mean by double down in marketing?
Yeah, I mean, right now, obviously, depending on liquidity and where you can cut money from in a down market, we built, you know, the farming in the communities when the market was at rock bottom, and everybody, when we're in a down market, there's shift or something like this goes on in the marketplace, most agents are going to stop doing everything, right? They're just kind of almost becoming reactive, just like the marketplace, instead of being proactive. What can I do to pick up market share? What can I do to still hit my goals, you know, achieve the lifestyle and the financial goal that I'm trying to obtain? And that's just really going hard in those communities. So I think, I don't know exactly what farming techniques there are in New York, or if there's any rules or restrictions, but us is more of, hey, we're doing a little bit more mail, seeing, you know, obviously changing the messaging to kind of go COVID, hey, can we be here to help? But also I'm doing videos, trying to get more engagement on the community pages like Facebook, and just letting them know we're here if they're available, but obviously just not always with that commission breath. Just trying to figure out how to be a resource in the communities you're going to farm, which is going to take more sweat equity than financial, but then also having the mail piece. I always believe in having a tangible product. I mean, social media is great, but when it's something about that tangible piece of paper or postcard that somebody gets from you, that goes a long way. And I think if you're looking to get market share in a community, now's the time to increase those marketing efforts and aggressively go out and farm.
Wow, wow. This is a really inspiring story, Joe, because it's funny, you know, a lot of what we've been hearing over the past, you know, week or so is many agents have built tremendous success actually during a downturn. So I'm glad that we have you on the call over here so that more agents can continue to be positive and inspired. So Russ, was there anything else? Did you want to chime in? If not, then I'm going to move on to the next question. So we're good to go.
A little loud here for me, so just a bit hard to talk, but I appreciate Joe. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Russ. All right, so next question we have over here is from Danny Gamil. What are you doing now to continue lead generating? So just a background, if Danny doesn't want to chime in over here, Danny is very heavy into prospecting. He's partners with Russ, with the expansion team. And, you know, lead generation is very big. So I know you talk a lot about farming. So what are the lead generating activities? I think, Danny, he answered most of it, but is there any other things that we might have missed on lead generation activities for Danny?
I appreciate it. Thank you, Joe.
My pleasure. I mean, obviously, trying to reach out to people we haven't. One thing that, you know, we were noticing before is A lot of people weren't answering their phones. You know, it was text or email when we eventually get a hold of them. Right now, everybody's home. It's almost like they're, you know, wanting that human connection, so they're more eager to pick up. So I would definitely be trying to call your database of people that you haven't been able to make contact with before, regardless of how old that lead or prospect might be. Because, you know, right now, people are more apt to go ahead and answer their phone. So that can be one thing you can do to increase prospecting. And then also I would reach out to local businesses. I'm sure everybody knows local business owners and businesses in the marketplace, and see if you can be a resource for them or any of their employees as people get laid off or furloughed or whatever it might be. So I think there's going to be a lot of that unfortunate economic devastation. So it's reaching out to the businesses and just being that resource in the community to help meet their needs and see what you can do to alleviate any financial burden that they're about to incur.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting, Joe. We're an emergency order over here, so that means, like most of us, one of the things part of the emergency order said that we weren't allowed to make phone calls, unsolicited phone calls to folks. And again, this is not legal guidance for even my company over here, but what I want to say is what you said. You're reaching out and seeing how you can help. I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing how someone can help. If you're asking, if you're soliciting, saying, hey, would you like to sell your house or sell your business, that's probably wrong. But if you're being a resource, as you said, to see how you can help as another business person in the community, I can't see any reason why that would be unacceptable.
Yep,
so
I agree.
So I think it's a fantastic idea. It's something I didn't think of in terms of reaching out to other business owners in the area and just saying, okay, well, how could they be a resource? So cool. Well, Danny just said thank you, Joe. So I guess we're going to move on from that. So thank you, Danny. All right, next question we have over here.
How be a resource? What do you mean be a resource? If they ask for any tangible items or cash or just you know, up to what point are your resources?
Not necessarily cash. I mean, it's just reaching out. I'm sure if they're, whether you have a personal relationship with them, but you know, a lot of the businesses that you frequently went to, I'm sure, you know, especially in New York, it's a lot of mom and pop, where a lot of you, I sure know the business owner, just reaching out, say, hey, you know, how are you dealing with this? If you have their contact information or figure out a way to get it, and just say, you know, we're here to help you get through this. If there's anything I can do, let me know. And it's more of not overthinking it and just letting them talk. So the way to be the best resource, I think, is just to listen. What we find most time right now, people are stressed and they want to vent. And it's honestly, you becoming a resource and just kind of listening to them, and that engagement is going to help you build that bond with them for establishing that real estate relationship. So it's not necessarily one thing. It's just an open-ended question saying, hey, I just want to let you know I'm here for you. We're kind of going through this together. So show that you're aligned with them in their struggle. And if you need me, you know, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to help any way that I can. And then just kind of let them talk and see where that need's going to be.
Russ, was that helpful? Russ, you there? Yes. So, you know, Joe, talking on what Russ? I might have lost him. So, you know, just to piggyback on what Joe said, I've actually reached out to other business owners. Some of them were in my groups that I belong to. And the approach that I took was kind of the same. I just said, hey, you know, what are you doing? How are you doing? How are we going to get through this together? And that's kind of what I said. One of them actually said, hey, Mike, would you mind sharing my information? You know, if anybody's interested in the services that I provide, you know, one being a restaurant owner, you know, just said, hey, Mike, you know, we're still delivering food. You know, can you let people know that we're still delivering food? And, you know, helping them get their message out there. They're still delivering food and they're taking proper precautions.
Absolutely. And just sharing, maybe sharing a post on your Facebook feed. It could be something as simple as that, to let them know that they're still open, support local business, and then kind of put their link up and tag them. You know, business owners love that.
Yeah. And what do business owners have? They have customers. So if they're aligned with you, then they're going to tell their customers, hey, you know, he's a good real estate agent. But that's not the angle. You know, the angle is just kind of being in it together. And most businesses are in it together. So I really like that approach. So and Russ said yes, yes, and yes, and don't overthink. So he said thank you. All right. So what do we got here? We got a couple more questions. Anthony Lopez said, do you see virtual tours and this type of technology taking more of a mainstream position after all this passes? So he said, do you see virtual tours and this type of technology taking more mainstream position after this all passes?
I think it will be used at some scale. Where people are just viewing homes online and then, you know, want to kind of have, you know, more tangible experience walking the property and things of that nature. But I do see this helping out for time constraints for agents. I think we will be showing less homes because they'll get more of a feel for the house and will limit their opportunities. However, I don't see virtual tours completely replacing somebody walking a property before making an offer.
Got it. Anthony, did you have more to add to that, or we're going to move on to the next question? Anthony Lopez.
Hey, is it okay? I'm muted?
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Some
Pretty good, Anthony. How you
people are not
doing?
comfortable asking a question, so that's the only reason why I did this way. So yeah, please feel free to ask Joe the question.
Okay. Yeah, Joe, we met in the office last year when you came up. So we
Yeah, how you
appreciate
doing?
coming up. Thank you. Good. Yeah, no, my question was more like just the way technology in general is sort of becoming a little bit more mainstream in a lot of different areas. And now they're saying, you know, you're hearing different rumors that things aren't going to return back to normal for at least, they're saying 12 to 18 months, which I think is a little far out there. But I think when things do get back to normal, my question was more, not that it's going to take over, what agents are not going to get up and they're going to virtually list homes and everything else, but do you see from a more of a marketing standpoint, like do you see more, because right now a few people will do the 3D tours of the homes, what they do the 360 tours. Now you're seeing more of it coming up because it's the only way you could show it right now.
Mm-hmm.
You see stuff like that and different types of more integrated technologies, like more interactive technologies, I should say, becoming more frontline, I guess you could say, moving forward after this. Not that it's going to replace the showings, but maybe like as part of your marketing package, you see more people doing this in the future. Like this is going to become more mainstream.
Yeah, I definitely think so, right? Because I feel you know, for your job as an agent to bring value to your clientele is I always, you know, talk to my team of a degree of separation. How can we do something that somebody else doesn't, or to make sure we're at least doing something that our competitors doing, right? Because we never want to lose out on a transaction with something that we could have done by just adapting, or maybe it's a fractional cost. I think, you know, with these virtual video tours, you know, Matterport and things of that nature, it was a little bit pricey. I'm seeing less expensive technology come out, so I think it will be more mainstream. I also think that buyers are going to want to have this virtual experience with the homes when viewing them, and I also think sellers are going to want that to be part of your listing repertoire when you're presenting to them on something that you're going to do to market and sell their house. I guess to kind of reiterate the point of what I was saying is I definitely think it's going to be something you need for your marketing, and you're going to have and kind of adapt. However, when the buyer is ready to make an offer, I still feel they're going to walk the property before making that offer, where everything won't be done virtually as it is now. So there'll still be some, you know, face-to-face and walking and touring the home. But I definitely think you're going to have to incorporate this in your repertoire moving forward.
All right, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Anthony. And let's see, we got some more questions over here. Faig asked, I guess this is in regards to the drip campaigns, Joe. Who's adjusting those messages? Who you are after them? So you are, and then are you? So right now, as the market transitions, Faig also asked, are you working with mostly sellers or buyers, or are you going after those attorneys again?
I'm not really going after. I mean, I already have business relationships with a lot of them, so I'm just checking in with them and just seeing, you know, what I can do and where I can be of service, and I guess nurturing those relationships. And then also the buyers and sellers, I'm not really going after one more than the other. I primarily will deal more listings, but as an organization, we're keeping the emphasis on the same as it's always been. We just want to help people transact in any way that they need to. So whether it's a buyer or whether it's a seller, and then when I'm doing these drip campaigns, I always kind of take a step back. I don't try to rush it out or do, you know, a set campaign that a CRM might give and everybody else might be sending. So I just kind of honestly just sit in an empty room and reflect on, if I'm right now with what's going on, what's kind of the messaging I would want? What would I want to read, and how would I possibly be aligned with somebody's messaging to entice me to open that email or read it? So it's just kind of thinking, knowing your clientele, knowing your marketplace and what's going on, because every marketplace is different. You know, how can you create that messaging? And then it's just going to be beta testing, right? What's getting open, where you're getting your click rates, and where are people responding to? So it's just a constant, always work in progress.
And on the drip campaign, Joe, when you said you sit in a room and just trying to figure out how many months out is it? How many? So when you say drip campaigns, we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
How many months is it? Is it just it's a week? Is it a month? Is it 6 months? Is it 3 months?
They're never longer than 12 months. It depends on the stage of the client. Like if it's a nurture, 6 months or greater, they go on a 12-month drip. But depending on when that person wanted to transact, and obviously the messaging would be shorter, but as far as a time length, but more frequent. I'd be having more touches.
Got it. Now, Craig mentioned sellers. Are you also dripping sellers? So let's say if you call in a FISBO and expired,
Absolutely.
are you sending a drip campaign for them, and how long, and what type of messages? Are you sending those video messages? Are you sending a text? You know, what are you doing with sellers?
In the virtual, we're giving, you know, social proof. So we're sending out, hey, the market's, a lot of people obviously think everything's, you know, collapsing. So we're still showing that we're still selling homes. So we send social proof, things of that nature, say, hey, you know, in our market is still healthy. Yes, it's slowed down, but it's still a great time to sell if you're needing to. And then also a lot of the messaging with the virtual staging, how showing them and demonstrating and letting them experience how we can sell their home and transact in this environment where they don't have to wait on the fence for whatever it is, 2, 10, 12 months, you know, so.
Got it. So what I'm hearing with sellers is, like you said, social proof. So you're going into your market data, showing them that the market's still good, it's slowed down, you're showing historical data, and then what was the second piece? I'm sorry. So you're saying
with the sellers and the buyers, just how we can transact virtually.
Virtually, right? That's what I meant. Is letting people know that even though, as a couple of agents mentioned on this call, how do you transact virtually? So you're demonstrating how you're doing it, how your team is doing it, how you do it. So I think that that's a good way to continue working with sellers as well during these tough times, showing them. So 2 major things that came out for me was social proof, showing the market data, and then also then showing that you're still able to kind of get this thing marketed, because this will be the new norm. So this will be the quote unquote the new norm, and you just got to have a new plan. You have to show the sellers the new plan that you have going forward. So because Joe, as we know, that even if they lifted these emergency orders tomorrow, I don't think tons of people are going to be rushing out the door. They're going to be tiptoeing into the marketplace. So it's going to take the team leads, it's going to take the agents, it's going to take to educate the marketplace that business will go on, and this is how we're doing it. You know, so you know, hand sanitizers, booties, and you know, social distancing, and oh, by the way, these are the steps. You know, how we walk, how we talk to buyers, right? Do we do virtual signings? So I think that the agents now need to show their value by showing what they're going to be doing now, and also when this is done. And that's what's interesting that you bring it up here, Joe, that many agents, I think, are just waiting on the sideline, but I think that preparing for when this ramps up. And you guys doing how many transactions again last year?
A little over 323.
323 transactions with 8 agents. So, you know, we're doing that many transactions. It's important that you have a system ready to rock and roll when it's all done. So Danny Gamil asked another question. This question was, are sellers still listing in the market right now?
Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe. It's Danny again.
Hey, sorry. Danny, how you doing?
So the people that you're speaking to on the phone, you know, are they listening to you? Are they hearing you out? I mean, you know, the people that I'm speaking to, you know, they're listening. They're open to having a conversation, but they're not open to meeting. A lot of them are not familiar with Zoom, even though you try to educate them. At this time, they're just kind of pushing away. Are you getting the same reaction by you?
No, I mean, so our marketplace is different. We can still have the face-to-face interaction, obviously following precautions. So like I ran a listing appointment yesterday, it was inside the seller's house. So it's, you know, every marketplace is going to be different to adapt. I think A lot of times what I notice is agents will try to kind of throw everything that they have in the repertoire out, but you kind of got to ease them into it, especially if they're not used to transacting this way. So now if these sellers, if you don't have a relationship with or have never met with them before, I would try to focus more on video and texting, and obviously just be consistent with it, but expect that, hey, I'm going to have a softer approach. So I might have to make more equity deposits before I get the withdrawal and get that contract in hand.
Yeah, so let me just make sure I just have to make this statement. So it is Remax Edge's stance that we're not allowed to contact any sellers or any unsolicited calls. What Danny was saying before, Danny has nurtured a lot of nurtured a lot of customers before. So as far as we're understanding is that any relationship he might have had, he can still have a conversation. So unsolicited sellers and unsolicited buyers, it's against orders to communicate with those people via phone. We are still waiting on some clarification. Like you said, it's maybe videos and emails, but we're still waiting on clarification for that. So, but I like what you said, Joe, is possibly the soft approach. And what Joe was saying was, tell me more about the equity deposits, right? So what do you mean by equity deposits?
Just giving items of value, right? So you want to tell, on these phone calls of Zoom, and you want to tell them how you have a digital marketing plan. You want to tell them how you're doing a virtual listing, but create a video and demonstrate it and try to figure out a way to get that where they can view it, whether if it's on their Facebook, if it's on a Facebook page, if you boost it, if it's somebody that's not that you have a relationship with, so it wouldn't fall under where it's unsolicited, and you're just kind of sending them that content so that way they can slowly learn, and everybody's gonna not be ready to transact now, but you obviously want them to think of you when they're ready to. So it's just having that consistency and letting them experience and demonstrate what you're doing, and it's just kind of getting that content out. I think when right now with so much uncertainty, everything going on in their head, when you kind of try to do it over the phone and you kind of brain dump on them, it's a little overload for a lot of people. They're overwhelmed, so they just kind of retreat and shut down. But if you have the soft approach and you're just constantly showing them how you're adapting and pivoting and moving and what you're doing to help your clientele through this tough time and how you're an innovator in the marketplace, well, then that's going to start to resonate them subconsciously. And then when they're ready to transact, whether it's today or 2 months from now, you'll be the one they're thinking of, even if you haven't really even had a phone call with them. You can kind of give them this information to let them experience how you can facilitate the sell in this marketplace.
I appreciate that, Joe. I do. I've been calling them. It's kind of just like, nurturing, a lot of nurturing, teaching them. So I guess I'm doing what I need to do to patiently wait for them to finally understand what the market's going through. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, my pleasure.
Yeah, and Joe, so you said you were implementing BombBomb for videos. Is that what you're using? Or you're doing? Yep. So I guess you would send an item of value via BombBomb with a video, right? So okay, cool, very good. Any more questions? Let me see if we have some more questions, Joe. Got it. Looks like we ran out of questions over here. Does anybody have any more questions before I kind of close out the meeting? See. All right. So before as we're getting.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, buddy. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hi, Joe, and thank you for being with us. I also remember you. Question about the structure of your team. You're saying that like you and your wife, and then you have 6 or 7 agents, right? Are those agents, all of them are buyer's agents, or you also have like listings agent with you as well? Like how that works? Like you're bringing the listings and everybody's working on those listings, or how that?
Now, so, and everybody's going to have a different take on this. A lot of teams I've spoken to are going to be either, you're a buyer's agent or a listing agent. One thing when me and my wife kind of created the team, when we got into real estate, we didn't get into real estate to only work with one. Obviously, I think most people gravitate towards liking one better. So all of our agents can work with buyers and sellers. They work with, both. They take listings, they show homes. Some of them are going to be in strictly a buyer lead rotation from the team, where other ones might be getting a listing lead rotation. However, we don't prohibit any of our agents from taking listings, especially from the spear contact and their past clientele. And also we find that a lot of people who are looking to purchase are also looking to sell. So, you know, they're able to facilitate both of those opportunities.
As those agents, like when they start to get like a more listing, are they like trying to get off the team and just do something else, or they just still keeping themselves into the team and just being part of it?
No, I think they find the value in the team. So they kind of like the blend of, you know, getting business on their own, but also having leads coming in for when, you know, they're slower with not having as much business from their prospecting efforts.
All right. And you guys like somewhere like a 50-50 buyer seller, or like what is the most money coming from?
Most is the listings, because usually we're getting more commission per transaction from listings. And last year we were 54% buyer, 46% seller for the.
Cool. That's what I wanted. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
All right, let me see. I think there might have been one other question came in. Let's see. Russ said, what's the, a little silly, just curious, what's the one thing in your business, person or systems, et cetera, that if you were to not have it, everything else would crumble if it even exists? So basically saying if one thing in your business, whether it's a person or a system, if you weren't to have it, everything would crumble, even if it exists.
Well, I think the first one's the agent, right? You, but obviously I know he's kind of looking for, I'm assuming something more ops. I think obviously you being the agent is going to be the most important, and kind of being the figurehead and people wanting to work and transact with you. If I were to look in our organization, what's the most vital? Transaction management. There's so many nuances that go with a transaction. I like to stay in a positive mindset, and sometimes if you're getting bad news from a transaction, having to deal with that, it might throw off your marketing efforts and kind of put you in the wrong mindset. So if I were to look at a crucial component for an administrator for an agent, it'd be transaction manager, just to kind of get that piece off, not have to deal with those nuances, and you can stay focused on your prospecting efforts and doing, you know, what you love to do, which is lead gen and sell homes.
Nice. Greg Donato has a question. Oh, Caitlin, we're going to come to you next. Greg just raised his hand. Greg, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that, you know, if you're lucky enough to have somebody on the phone right now, whether it be a buyer or a seller, I think they're what I try to do is I consider everybody right now, we're in the same boat. You know, buyers and sellers are in the same boat, and those that you're able to talk to, they have a special reason why they're talking to you. You know, usually that's what I assume. They have some pressing issue that allows them to even think about transacting a real estate matter. So, and that's where I start from, you know, and with empathy and with that in mind, you can usually get to a point where, you know, the understanding that you're a helper and you're not there to bang them over the head with a sale, you know. And if you can express that in your own words, that you're here to help them, you can usually get them to a point where they're going to understand that you're just somebody who's in the same situation. You know, you're there to help them, and they can help you. So that's a good way to present yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold, right? So it's just kind of having that approach of being there for them and having that human connection and letting them know you're here. But, you know, strategically, when they have, you know, the way you make money is you have to find the solution to the problem, right? So they have a problem, and eventually, you know, they're going to need to transact real estate, whether it's to sell or buy. And it's how are you going to facilitate those needs? So it's just listening to them, experiencing, you know, kind of with them what they're going through, and then just kind of thinking and facilitating, all right, well, what I have in my repertoire, here's what I can do to be that solution for your problem.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg.
To start with the process. Start with the empathy.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
You got
All
it.
right, thank you. Thank you very much. So next, Caitlin has a question in terms of what is your next video that you're sending to your buyer list? So what is your next video? What video have you sent to your buyer list? Because we know that you have a pretty big database. So what's a video that it's the next video that you're sending them?
I mean, so like, for instance, it's just having the personal. So I'll kind of go look at homes they're interested in, and then just shoot a quick video with a link that, you know, from your MLS on a couple homes that might be similar to what they were looking for, and just say, hey, I was thinking of you. You know, right now everybody has downtime on the market, so they have, you know, engagement is through the roof. And it might just be a video of sending a link to look at some properties that I think that'd be interest based on their criteria, and just incorporating a video. So it's nothing where you have to overthink and think you got to do this whole marketing plan and come out with all these great ideas. It's literally just what you're going to send in an email, just incorporate a video with it. And I think a lot of times people don't shoot video because they overthink it. So it's just, hey, I want to know I'm here for you. I was thinking about you. You know, when we'll ask all homes if you showed them homes, or whatever criteria you got. Here's some homes right now that I think would be, you know, a perfect fit. And we're not as, it's not as if, you know, you want to get the message where it's not as competitive a market it is now. So it's a great opportunity to buy if you're still looking to, but obviously I'm also aware that with what's going on, I just want to let you know that I'm here when you're ready to, but I thought you'd find these homes would kind of fit your criteria and what you're looking for. And let me know if you have any questions.
So Joe, you mentioned before engagements through the roof. Is that what you're seeing? Because I know you've got a pretty big website. Are you seeing engagement on the back end of your website?
Yeah, I'm seeing it in all aspects too: email, texts, and phone calls. I think right now people, you know, are unfortunately going a little bit stir crazy. So they're just, you know, with everybody kind of having to do social distancing, are looking for that human connection too. So it's not only are more people on the sites because they have more downtime, but it's also they're more likely to answer the phone where they hadn't in the past, respond to texts and emails that might have gone disregarded because they're just kind of busy with their life.
Got it. So if there's no more questions, I don't think there was any more. No. So yeah, then basically what's one big piece of advice, Joe, that you'd offer everybody in this group right now? You know, so we went past, present, and future here. We kind of covered all the bases. Well, first off, before we go to advice, future piece, any future predictions on economic outlook and the future of the business. You know, we talk about different portals. Anything that you could say what your predictions are of. And then, by the way, just so you know, as a disclaimer here, this is not financial advice. This is just something based on what Joe is seeing out there from his experience. So this is not financial advice. But what are you seeing in terms of the real estate market in the next 6 months and next year? What are you seeing in the real estate market? What do you think?
I think you're going to see a lot of these bigger companies, these larger institutions, struggle and not be as big a competitor from all sectors of real estate. So I think that's going to open up more opportunities for agents. I also see a lot of agents with what's going kind of on in the marketplace, or they might not be able to adapt, and there being less competition out there. So I would say, you know, in the near future, expect less competition with what's going out there. And then I can kind of segue that into my main advice from what I've experienced and kind of going through the housing crisis before and living it is perseverance. If this is, you know, what you feel your career is, and you have a goal where you're going to make it as an agent, and you have income goals and you have business goals, just staying true and tried to those, focusing on that, don't give up, and just know that in business, we're always going to have to pivot. We're always going to have to shift. There's always going to be something, but it's just to be consistent, and the consistency is just always working on your business and facilitating a solution for your clientele's problem.
Beautiful. Well, Joe, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time over here. I'm sure everyone in our group over here appreciates as well. So thank you for that. It's really an inspiration, and yeah, thank you for sharing. Appreciate you.
My pleasure. Have a great one.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys.